In today's program, Thailand may tighten restrictions yet again due to the uptick in Omicron cases. This means the test and go quarantine exemption scheme could get scrapped. Details on this, along with our other headlines, coming up in today's program. You're watching Thailand News Today, bringing you the latest headlines in Thailand and beyond. And in our first story, nearly 2 months after Thailand opened its doors to international tourism, the country may tighten restrictions and cancel the test and go quarantine exemption scheme. In an interview on Channel 9, Public Health Minister Anutin Charnvirakul said that the Thai government will discuss whether to cancel the entry scheme due to the uptick in Omicron cases. So far, there have been 63 confirmed cases in Thailand. Test and Go was launched on November the 1st, allowing vaccinated travelers from 63 countries to enter Thailand without undergoing a lengthy quarantine. Test and Go travelers have been required to book a night at an approved hotel to stay in isolation while they wait for the results of a PCR test. If the test and go scheme is cancelled, vaccinated travelers would still be able to enter Thailand under the Sandbox scheme, which allows them to roam freely in a province or district approved for the pilot tourism program, such as Phuket and Khao San Road. They must stay in the Sandbox area for 7 days before traveling to other areas of Thailand. Travelers who are unvaccinated need to undergo alternative quarantine at an approved facility for 10 to 14 days, depending on which country they travel from. Thailand's first local transmission of the Omicron variant is a woman who contracted the virus from her husband, who had traveled from Nigeria. The man had returned home on November the 26th and tested negative on arrival in a PCR test. He had entered under the Sandbox scheme and stayed at an approved hotel. Throughout this whole process, no COVID was found. On December the 3rd, the man traveled by a hotel van to his home in Pathum Thani, just north of Bangkok. He stopped at a convenience store and a shopping mall. He then came down with a fever but had tested negative for COVID in a rapid antigen test. His wife took care of him while he felt ill. The man later tested positive for COVID-19 on December the 7th, and his wife started home quarantine. 3 days later, the woman also tested positive for COVID-19, and the man's results were confirmed to be the Omicron strain. If you're traveling by bus during the New Year holiday, you might need to take an ATK test for long-distance trips. The Department of Disease Control says that passengers who travel by public transport for more than 4 hours are recommended to show proof of an ATK test result, while staff are required to have both a vaccine certificate and negative ATK results. In recent months, some bus contractors for the transport company have also asked for proof of vaccination. For domestic flights, airlines will ask for a vaccination certificate, and some will allow those who are unvaccinated to fly if they show a negative result from a PCR test taken within 72 hours of departure. The State Railway of Thailand has not made any recent announcements on whether a test result or vaccination certificate will be needed to travel.
Sean standing here from 5-Star Marine on a magnificent day here on the southern island of Phuket. And we've got some of your boats behind us, well, one of them. Why are they all called Lucas?
So I have a son, 9 years old, and we started off with Lucas 1 and 2, and then we had a family discussion about maybe changing one name to my daughter, but my son pitched me very well that that would be bad for our brand, and so now it's Lucas all the way up to Lucas 11. We're never going to be able to change it now, we're too deep in.
So you've probably got a bit of family rivalry going on now. The daughter's saying, "Where's my boat?"
Yeah, it's a little bit like that, but he keeps explaining to me that if I change the name of the boat, I have to change the name of the company, and that's not something I'm ready to do yet.
I think you've got a future marketing manager there.
Yeah, I do. And they're all, 39-foot private speedboats, and nice and safe on the sea.
They are real. These are all built in Phuket.
Yeah, all in Phuket, and 9 of them built in Phuket during COVID.
Wow, amazing. And during COVID, you've enlarged your fleet, you've improved your boats, and you're ready for what I suppose we call the the grand reopening, which is now on with all these beautiful beaches waiting for people to come back.
Exactly right. Then, as we've been saying, it's boating season, so get out there.
So flat, calm seas, bright sunny skies, the worst of the wet season is behind us, and Thailand has reopened, and we look forward to you coming back soon.
After the mix-up over whether Lisa Blackpink would perform, Thai officials now say that, for sure, the famous Italian tenor Andrea Bocelli will perform at Phuket's New Year countdown at Saphan Hin Public Park. The 63-year-old multi-instrumentalist will be the leading artist of the event, followed by famous local artists from the 1990s who will also perform. The TAT is also planning countdown activities in Chiang Mai, Nakhon Ratchasima, and Rayong, with a budget of roughly 150 million baht after the CCSA allowed New Year countdown festivities to take place. Attendees must provide a negative COVID test result and proof that they are fully vaccinated before entering the events, with a negative test from an antigen test kit no more than 72 hours old. The Tourism Ministry is also considering a new round for the hotel subsidy scheme for local tourists, including at least 2 million room nights. Last Monday, the third phase of the We Travel Together subsidy plan concluded with almost 634,000 local travelers using privileges at over 4,300 hotels around the country, generating a total of 7 billion baht. Street sellers on Bangkok's Khao San Road are celebrating the welcome return of foreign tourists and say life is finally beginning to return to normal. A 51-year-old vendor says she hopes that this is the beginning of the end when it comes to the hardship that she's faced for nearly 2 years. She says, quote, "I see many foreign tourists coming back after Thailand reopened to fully vaccinated travelers. Many street vendors are hoping to get back to the good old days. I have many more customers, and I am so happy that I am making more money from selling food. I like this kind of business atmosphere. This market has come back to life for the past 2 months." Street sellers in the capital were devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions, with Thailand's borders shut and strict disease prevention measures, meaning most non-essential businesses were shut down. Since the country's reopening on November the 1st, however, things are finally starting to look up on Khao San Road, which is normally a haven for backpackers and others who are traveling on a budget. Businesses such as restaurants, clothing stores, and massage shops are reopening, along with the street food carts, all of them adopting the measures that govern the so-called new normal, including hand sanitizers, face masks, and social distancing. For now, however, nightlife and entertainment venues remain shut. Another 43-year-old street food vendor who has worked on Khao San Road since 2008 says she's never experienced challenges like those she's had to face since the start of COVID-19. She says, quote, "Most shops and all pubs and bars were forced to shut down because of COVID. There were no foreigners and only a few Thais on the road. But having reopened, I noticed signs of an economic recovery as many people, especially foreigners, have returned to spend time here." Meanwhile, Simon Cornwall, a tourist visiting from his home in Indonesia, says he's been coming to Khao San Road since 2017 and hopes to see it return to the bustling street it once was. He says, quote, "I love the crazy atmosphere of Khao San, though I prefer to stay in Soi Rambut 3 nearby as it's a bit more chilled out. I hope it will be back to usual and crowded again." Businesses and tourists alike will be hoping there is no going back, but Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul is now proposing a return to mandatory quarantine for foreign arrivals amidst concerns about the rapidly spreading Omicron variant. A soldier has died from falling from a cliff in the northern province of Tak yesterday while on duty patrolling for drug traffickers. Another soldier has been seriously injured in the incident at the mountain of Doi Monta in the district of Mae Sot. An army spokesman says military personnel from the Naresuan force have been patrolling the area around Doi Monta recently and that both men had fallen from the cliff at around 2 a.m. According to the report, the cliff is over 1,000 meters above sea level, and rescue workers spent 4 hours trying to reach the injured soldier on foot and another 2 hours trying to get to the victim on the rocks further down. At the time of the accident, both soldiers were checking for illegal drug traffickers from Myanmar. It's understood the army has been in touch with the men's families to offer assistance. And that wraps up the show for today. Thailand News Today will be back tomorrow. Meanwhile, you're now up to date on the Thaiger.